You're thinking of moving to North Texas, there's one neighborhood you're going to come across sooner or later, and that's going to be the Grove in Frisco, Texas. What's really interesting about this neighborhood is you have townhomes starting at $400,000 all the way up to $2 million homes on 95-foot lots. We're not talking about, on completely different sides of Frisco. These are both in the same master plan community, which brings up a great question. Why is there such a massive price difference in homes throughout here? More importantly, is paying the premium in the Grove worth it, or should you go to another Frisco neighborhood? This neighborhood has a ton going for it: newer constructions, premium location we'll talk about later, Frisco ISD resort style amenities, plenty of walking trails. But there's also a few things you absolutely need to understand before moving into this neighborhood. Traffic is of course one of them, price is another. There's one trade-off in the Grove that comes much more obvious when you compare it to other neighborhoods just a little bit further north. So in this video, we're going to go over it all. Everything from location, builders, price point, what it's actually like living here, and most importantly, the lot sizes. Because two homes, even with very similar square footage, can really provide a different lifestyle inside the same neighborhood. We're also going to talk about property taxes and why that's a big advantage, HOA, schools, amenities, shoppings, commute, everything you need to know if you're relocating here to North Texas. I'm also going to give you my biggest pros and cons. What do I love and hate about this neighborhood? But let's start with location first, because that's the most important. The Grove is in a really unique section of Frisco. It's in the southeast corner, which is commonly referred to as the Four Corners, right where Frisco, Plano, and Allen kind of all come together. Now, that is one of the biggest reasons people select this, is of course you have everything in Frisco, but Allen, McKinney, and Plano also super developed, ton of jobs in Plano and McKinney and Allen. So it's in a super convenient location, but the location is also the biggest downside, which we'll get to here later. Now, if you're considering a move to DFW, the biggest mistake you can make is assuming that all of the northern suburbs are about the same. DFW is like a 3.5 hour radius. So there's a big difference in which city you select depending on where you work, what's important to you, commute, kids, what you want around you, and where you live is going to have a major impact on your day-to-day life. Now, if someone calls me and says, hey, I want to live in Frisco, of course, the first question is going to be, okay, do you go into work? Do you work hybrid? What's important to you? How long do you want your commute? Because right, this section of Frisco, you have great access to, like I said, Plano, Allen, McKinney. You're only about 15 or 20 minutes to Legacy West, which has a ton of corporate jobs and headquarters there. Of course, if you either travel for work or just love to travel and want to be close to the airport, you're about 30 or 40 minutes. And then to downtown Dallas itself, about 35 minutes with no traffic. That's something important. You could easily be 45 minutes or an hour if there's a wreck. So if you want to be 30 minutes from Dallas, ask what time. Because if you want to be 30 minutes from Dallas at 5:15 on a Tuesday, that's a much different neighborhood than 11 a.m. on a Sunday. Now, more about location and why it is a pro, but also a con. Now, remember, I said this is one of the biggest reasons people buy here is the location. You're in the Four Corners, quick access to the DNT and 121, Plano, and Dallas, but it's also the biggest downside, right? Frisco, Allen, McKinney, and Plano are all experiencing a ton of growth. So while you're in a great location to get to those, you're also in the middle of four growing locations. Especially Frisco has really boomed. I grew up in Allen, just seeing the last few years how much that's grown and congested. One of the reasons I moved a little bit further north myself. So yes, it's super convenient for all your everyday needs, work and driving, but I also don't want to sugarcoat it and tell you there's no traffic, because it can get congested. Now, it's not like what I picture when you think New York City, taking 10 minutes to go 1 mile, but there's going to be a lot of stop and go traffic, a lot of red lights, a lot of people coming to and from work. They've expanded a lot of the major roads already in Frisco, which is a big advantage it has over like Celina, for example, that the infrastructure is still working on catching up. But something I always recommend is, no matter what city you're planning to buy in here in North Texas, but especially the Grove, if you love it, don't just drive it besides when we go see homes at 12 p.m. on a weekday. Drive it during rush hour. See if you really are okay with doing that day in and day out. Also, drive your routes to the grocery store, all your entertainments. Maybe your kids are in sports. What sports fields are they going to use? Groceries, work, whatever it may be. Now, you may ask yourself, what makes the Grove different? It's a lot higher price point versus if I went 20 minutes up the road to Celina or Prosper. That's a great question, but once you actually enter the Grove, drive through, see how it's laid out, it really changes everything for you. Let's talk about what the Grove here in Frisco actually feels like. But if you have any questions about the Grove so far, or you're planning a move to North Texas, reach out to me. Whether you're 9 days or 9 months out from making a move, I'd be happy to help you make that transition here to North Texas. Answer any questions so you can make that move with confidence. If you have any questions, all my contact info is below. Reach out to me to get started. But getting into the Grove, it's about a 700-acre master plan community that 5 or 6 years ago was actually an active farm field. And one of the things they did really well is they planned a lot of the walking trails and green space throughout the neighborhood before building the home. So it feels very walkable. There's a ton of green space, pocket parks, trails to walk. They have an awesome amenity center as well. So it's a super active neighborhood, which a ton of people love. Now, the main advantage and why they love that is the Grove is not going to be your absolute Best Buy price per square foot in North Texas. Really, I mean, depending what lifestyle you want, but if you just want the most house for the less money, you're going to have to look in Celina or a further out suburb. But if you want a neighborhood and you're okay paying a premium for one that's active, people are out walking, you're close and have all the conveniences nearby, that's where Frisco and the Grove really start to make sense for you. Now, talking about those amenities and how people use them, of course, like we talked about, you've got hiking trails, bike trails, of course, have a resort style pool, kiddie pool with splash pad, pickleball, basketball court, sand volleyball, just green space for your dog to run around, baseball practice, football practice in the neighborhood, whatever it may be. And then you have what they call the Orchard House, which is going to be right where your pool, lawn space, fitness center is. They have community gathering spaces inside there. So if you meet some families when you move in, want to meet up there versus one of y'all's house for game night, cook out, meet at the pool, whatever it may be, you've got that center community hub. So that's one thing about the Grove, and really a ton of the new master plan communities that people love is, right, you move here from out of state, you may not know anyone, but the neighborhoods are active. You're going to meet people pretty quickly and naturally, just organically throughout using the amenities in the neighborhood, whether that's the walking trails, whether you like to get a workout at the fitness center, go for a swim, walk your dog, whatever it may be, they kind of have everything for you. Now, what does that cost? Because I'm sure, I don't know where you're moving from. Y'all may not have expensive HOAs. This may seem like a really cheap HOA, but the HOA here is about $2,500 a year. Now it varies a little bit depending on what section. And of course, if you're in a townhome, it's gonna be way different. But talking single families here, it's about $2,500 a month, or a year. Whew, a month would be terrible. $2,500 a year, so about $200 a month. Now, whether that's expensive for you or not, I don't know. Personally, for me, that seems like a lot because my HOA is $500 a month right now where I am. Now, if you look at a lot of Celina neighborhoods and compare what you get at those, most Celina neighborhoods are $1,000 to $1,500. Your money goes a little bit further, but the tax rate is much higher in most Celina communities. That's one advantage. You've got to look at the full picture. You can't just be turned off by the HOAs, because HOAs in Frisco tend to be a little bit higher. Like the Grove is higher. It's $2,500 a year as well, which I do have a video on, or the fields. I have a video on the fields, which is about $2,500 a year. So Frisco, especially the new ones, have a little bit higher HOA costs, but your tax rate is a lot lower in most of them. The tax rate here is 1.66%, or you're saving a lot. Versus if you look at Celina, like I think of, North Sky has a much cheaper tax rate. It's still 2%. That's one of the lowest ones. And it's about 30 minutes further north. So if you commute to Dallas, it doesn't make sense for you. You've got Ramble that has a lot of similar amenities. They're in a mud. They're at a 2.785% tax rate. You've got Light Farms that, again, has very similar amenities, great walking trails, ponds, pools, parks, playgrounds. The HOA is a little bit cheaper. It's $1,500 a year, but your tax rate's 2.49%. So, you start doing the math on if you buy $1 million home here, it's a lot more each month, and the HOA becomes affordable. So you can't just look at it apples to oranges. You really have to do overall cost and what you're paying for, right? You get great resort style amenities, fitness center, pickleball courts, basketball, sand volleyball, a ton of great amenities, but it's up to you. If you don't ever use those, probably not worth it for you. If you have kids or you love pickleball, you may be super into pickleball, so you may use that a lot. Depending on your needs and wants in a neighborhood, it may make sense for you. We may want to find you one that has a cheaper HOA with less amenities because you're not going to use them. Now, here's where things get really interesting, right? You can buy a super nice $700,000 home in the Grove. You can also buy a $2 million home in the Grove on a 95-foot lot and 4-car garage. So let's jump into homes and home prices here, which this is probably why you clicked on the video. What do I get and what does it cost to live here? That's going to be the most important things, right next to location. And to help narrow it down, you can spend anywhere from $400,000 to $2 million. But no, I'll tell you kind of what those get, square footage wise, bed bath range, and kind of who your builders are. Your homes in here below 600,000 are going to be, under 2,000 square feet, but still 3-bed, 2-bath, great homes. They're just going to be a little bit smaller. If you step into that like $600,000 to $800,000 range, you step up to that $600,000 to $800,000 range, you can get up to or a little bit over 3,000 square feet. Those are still going to be your 3 to 5 bedroom homes. And if you jump into that next like 800 to 1.2, you can get, mid 3,000s up to 4-ish thousand square feet. Those are going to be mainly 4 to 5 bedroom homes. Some of those are going to have 3-car garages. You're going to start getting, some of those bigger lots. And then if you go 1.2 and above, especially that 1.5 to 2 million range, those are going to be your 75 and 95 foot lots. 3 to 4 car garage, at least 5 bedrooms. And then of course, right, once you get over 8, back it up a little bit. Once you get over 800, you're going to start seeing those offices, media rooms, all of that. And of course, I've got some great home tours, but I toured a $2 million one. It had 2 home offices, 2 media rooms, 2 laundry rooms. It had 2 of everything pretty much. So it can get about as crazy or awesome, however you want to look at it, as you want as far as space and square footage wise, awesome patios. The biggest difference really, I think, on the homes is going to be the lot size. How usable is it? Of course, if you want to be able to put in a pool or backyard, patio, awesome grill, you're going to need those 75 or 95 foot lots, which are going to be, put you well over the $1 million mark. So that's one of the important factors, is maybe you get a bigger lot and less upgrades if that fits your lifestyle, or maybe you get more upgrades in the house if you don't like spending a ton of time outside. So reach out to me, let me know kind of what your lifestyle is you're looking for. We can walk through what's going to fit you, your budget, lifestyle, location, and needs best. Again, all my contact info's in the description. I'd love to help you make a move here. Again, all my contact info's below. I'd love to help you make a smooth move here like we've helped numerous other families do. But let's get into builders, right? We've talked about price, lot size, location. What builder options do you have here? Right now, you really have, these are the 3 primary builders. You have Highland Homes, Chesmar Homes, and Brookfield. Now, Brookfield is going to be your 40 and 55 foot lot options. And again, these are single families. They're going to start around 700,000, and they're still going to be plenty big enough. They're going to be about 2,500 up to almost 4,000 square feet. These are great if you want newer construction, want to be in Frisco ISD. You want all the great amenities of the Grove, but you don't necessarily need a luxury estate. But again, right, you may get that 3,000 square foot home, but if your kids love to be outdoors and plays, and you get it on that 55 or maybe 40 foot lot if you're a little bit smaller home, it may not feel as big and it may not fit your needs. So while the kitchen and interior may be beautiful, we can't forget about what's truly important to you and your needs of that home. Now, Chesmar Home, again, they start at around $775, so similar price point. They have some bigger floor plan options. They're about, again, 2,500, but this time they go to about 4,300 square feet or so. So that's obviously a massive house, probably big enough. This is going to be a great option if, maybe you don't want all the upgrades. You're okay with a smaller lot, but still want a really, really nice home. Of course, you're going to get more rooms for furniture, dining, entertaining. But just because it's bigger doesn't mean it's going to be necessarily better. We want to make sure that you don't stretch your budget to buy rooms you're not going to use. We want to make sure we find the right combination of you for the right amount of house, the right lot size, location, lifestyle, and of course, payment or overall cost, depending if you're financing or paying cash. But if you want one of the most popular builders, bigger lots, super nice custom interior finishes, this is where Highland Home is going to come in. Now, they've got 74 and 95 foot lots, which may be the biggest lot. I think that is. I toured it. It's a huge lot. Now, the one I toured, I'll be honest, the backyard wasn't very deep. Now, you could definitely still fit a pool, but I feel like if you got a 74 with a deeper lot, that could be an advantage to you. It's something I talk about all the time. Just because it's wider doesn't mean it's more backyard space. Nonetheless, these homes started around the $1 million mark and go well above $2 million. So if you don't want your neighbor next door to where you can reach out, touch their window or brick, this is where those 74 and especially the 94 foot lots are going to be super attractive to you. Now, especially once you jump into that 95 foot lot, you're going to be at like 1.5 and up. A lot of them are like upper ones, low 2s if you really go crazy in the design center. One I toured was 2.1 million, and they had $350,000 in upgrades. Gorgeous home. I've got a tour up on my channel. You should definitely check it out if you're in that price point. But this is where if you're in that million plus, especially $1.5 million plus price range, you really view the Grove a lot differently than like $700,000 buyer, just because a 95-foot lot's pretty rare. I know Star Trail and Prosper has some 86s. Ramble in Celina has some 86s as well, but 95 is huge. One of the only places in Frisco you're going to see that is going to be the Preserve, and again, that's in Fields of Frisco. Those are going to be 2 million plus as well. So that's in a gated community. That could be a big bonus for you. But talking about the Grove here, this is why I don't describe it as like a $700,000 neighborhood or $1 million plus. It really tailors to all price points, and it's not like you have a row of townhomes and a $2 million home and then a 7. They really build them and group them in like looks and price points. So when I toured that $2 million one, all the ones around it were, you know, around that 2 million, $1.5, $2 million price range. But before you start calculating your mortgage payment or property tax bill compared to, you know, other $1.5 million homes around North Texas, it's really important you know the numbers. Now, I already touched on property taxes and HOA. Haven't told you about MUD or PID, which depending how much shopping and looking you've done in North Texas, you may or may not have come across it. Now, luckily, this community is not in a MUD or PID. Most of those that are in a MUD or PID are going to be further north than Frisco. Like Celina, a lot of neighborhoods are. Those are extra tax assessments. Your PID is your public improvement district. That's to fund infrastructure and roadways. And your MUD is your municipal utility district, which is for like sewer, water, and other utilities. So those are generally an extra like 0.3%. I've seen them all the way up to 0.8, 0.9% in extra tax rate. So it's super important that a $2 million home in the Grove is going to have a much different payment than a $2 million home in Prosper or Celina that might be in a MUD or PID or a different HOA cost. Now, you know, HOA is going to change your payment a little bit, not a whole lot, right? I mean, 20 to 200 bucks a month. That could be a deal breaker for you. We could find you a cheaper one, but the biggest thing is going to be your tax rate. Like I said, the Grove is 1.675% tax rate, but we want to know, like, hey, not can I afford it? What does it cost me to own? Am I comfortable with that? Because you may look in Celina, you may be able to get the same home for $400,000 less, or $200,000, $300,000, whatever the number is. But is your payment the same? If your payment's the same, you may rather be in Frisco, closer to everything, and not having to wait for the development. Now, of course, if you're moving from Texas, you may already know, so maybe why you're moving to Texas. Texas doesn't have a state income tax. That's why our property tax is higher. A lot of Celina is like 2 to 2.6, 2.7%. There's a few communities that get close to 3%. But this is where it's super important to understand that before you move here. Run some numbers and know, hey, roughly if it's in a MUD or PID or at this tax rate, this is what my payment's going to be on an $800,000 home, because I'd hate for you to love and fall in love with the community and then find out your payment's way more than what you thought. So again, Frisco has one of the lower tax rates than like Celina. Some Prosper neighborhoods, Prosper varies a lot more, but I want to make sure you understand the math and are confident when you go to write a contract on a home here in North Texas. So before you ever come, I would definitely love to connect you with one of our lender partners. Again, if you're going new build, may not even end up getting to use him, but he can give you some real number examples. So you can put pen to paper on what area makes sense for you. That way, when you're here, we're only touring communities that make sense for you and your family, and we maximize your time here, because you've got to get back to work. You can't take 2 months off to come look at homes. So like I've kind of touched about, Celina is much cheaper. You're probably going to hear people be like, why would you pay that? Just go to Celina. You could have got just as much square footage for way, way less. And that's a legitimate question. I mean, Celina, I just made a video on Celina versus Frisco. You should go check it out. It's going to be super helpful for this, but the similar home, not exact same, different builders, but similar square footage, same bed and bath. One had an extra half bath, but it was $200,000 cheaper in Celina. Now, even if it's in a MUD or PID, your payment in Celina is probably cheaper, but that's where you really have to compare actual payment amounts. But the other thing is convenience. Why would you pay the premium for the Grove or another Frisco neighborhood? the location. It's just more convenient. Of course, most of these neighborhoods have great amenities. They're gonna have newer homes. You know, Frisco ISD is one thing to argue about. Now, Prosper is, in my opinion, just as highly sought after. Celina ISD isn't bad, but most people don't go crazy over Celina ISD versus Frisco or Prosper. But the main thing is right back to location. You know, if you have to work in Legacy West, you're 15 minutes in the Grove and most of Frisco versus most of Celina is 30 to 40 minutes. That's an hour a day you get back. If you work in Dallas, it's even more time you get back. Not to mention every little errand to the grocery store. You know, Celina does have a lot coming, but Frisco, you have everything within 15 minutes of almost every neighborhood. Grocery stores, dining, entertainment, whatever you need, versus Celina, a lot of them you have to drive at least 10 to 20 minutes to get where you want to go. All those errands and trips add up. That's miles on your car. There's more oil changes, more tire changes, more time you don't get to spend with your family at home, doing whatever you love to do. So that's what I'm saying. Don't move north just because it saves you $150,000, $200,000 on your home purchase. Like I said, it could cost you an hour a day in the car. That's 20 hours a month, 240 hours a year, month after month and year after year. So I'm not saying one decision is right or wrong. I made the decision to move further north to get a bigger, cheaper, new construction home because at the time that was more important to me. And I wanted to be closer to Lake Texoma. I love to fish, if you don't know, so I wanted to be able to, if I had an early showing, hook up the boat and go to the lake. So that was something important to me. That may be the same thing to you in Celina. You may have something up there. You may value that your money goes further. You may be able to get that 4th or 5th bedroom you really need for your family, and in exchange for an extra hour a day, that may be worth it. Now, of course, another reason to pay, or a lot of people pay it, is right, like I talked about, Frisco ISD. It's one of the most highly rated, sought after school districts here in North Texas. It's highly rated. It's an A-rated school district on almost every school rater I've looked at. But there's different Frisco schools. That's Frisco ISD as a whole. Different Frisco schools are gonna have different ratings. So depending what's important to you, your family, and your kid, because obviously you know what your kid needs best and will need to thrive academically. Look up those individual elementary schools, see what they're rated, look up reviews online. Oh, of course, like I said, everything is just closer in Frisco. That's the biggest question I have. A ton of people want to live close to Frisco. You don't necessarily love Frisco prices. That's where Celina fits. I've helped a ton of families move into Celina. They love it, no complaints. They knew they were moving further out. They were okay waiting for the growth. But that's the advantage of the Grove, is you don't have to wait for the growth. You don't have to drive 20 minutes to go get milk, but you're also right by everything. You have PGA Frisco. So of course, if you love to golf or love to watch golf, you have that right there. You have the Omni Resort. You have Universal Kids Resort right across from the field. So it's just going to be northwest of you. And then of course, you're pretty close to the Star. It's, you know, a few minutes north of Legacy West on the north side of 121. If you love to watch the Cowboys, you can go watch them practice. They have a big screen up there. You can watch the games there. They have a ton of great eating. You have downtown Frisco. So you have a lot of shopping, dining, and eats all around you. So the pros are, right, if you're moving from a city where you're used to having everything right by you and convenient, the Grove makes a lot of sense for you. If you move from, or you want to move to that, it makes sense. But let's talk about the downsides, because I'm not loyal to any North Texas community. I'll tell you what I love about it and what I hate about it, and we'll help you find the one that makes the most sense for you and your family. Now, the biggest con is going to be traffic. That's really going to be everywhere. Frisco has a much denser population than like Celina or Prosper right now. So you're going to have to deal with a lot of traffic, especially if you take Stacy Road or Highway 380. Even if you commute down to Dallas, right, during rush hour, the tollway is going to get trafficy. It's just how it is. Somebody is going to wreck or drive 65 in the left lane. One of those two is going to happen almost every day. So definitely drive your commute before you buy here. Now, with that said, yes, there's traffic, but it's also closer. You're going to have to sit in less traffic, right? Celina is expected to boom. So don't just run to Celina expecting there to be no traffic. I know this is a Frisco Grove video, but to get away from the traffic, I would automatically think to go north, which there is going to be less, but Celina is also expected to have over 400,000 people by mid-2030s, and they're at about 62 right now. So Celina is going to get more traffic. There's going to be more construction as well. So you kind of have to pick your battle with those two. The other con is you pay a premium for living in Frisco. Now, whether that trade-off for you is worth having everything right around you, having all the everyday conveniences, not being far from work and extracurriculars, whatever you want to do for fun. But $900,000 in Frisco versus $900,000 in Celina looks way, way different. I'll give you an example. That Frisco versus Celina video I was telling you about, one of the homes I compared, they were both about 3,000 square feet. In Celina, it was like 663,000. And in Frisco, it was $899,000. Same square footage, same number of bedrooms. I think the one in Frisco had an extra half bath, but I'm not paying an extra $250,000 for a half bath. With that, you get the location, the education, and proximity to everything. So that's a decision you have to make. I'll lay everything out there. I don't love the Frisco premium, but it does have a big advantage. Another con is, you're right, you have a big variance of lot size. You have 40, 55, 74, 94 foot lots. You have a big, big variance. So don't assume the Grove is just like they're all the same lot size, because you may love the smaller lot. You may not want any maintenance, or you may be like, I really wanted a pool. This is a great house. Well, where's the rest of my backyard? Now, of course, this is a new community, so the biggest con is ongoing construction. I went for a walk this morning. I picked up 3 nails in the middle of the road. So it's a very real thing. You're gonna probably get some nails in your tires. I have luckily not yet. I've seen many a Facebook posts. You're gonna have construction activity. You're gonna have foundations getting poured at 6 a.m. Nailers and framers with their nail guns, loud music from the workers, which, hey, I can't blame them. I'd wanna work to some tunes too, but you're gonna have to deal with that. Expanding roads, not as much in Frisco as if you were to go to Celina, but there is still gonna be a little bit of that. Now, of course, obviously, I already talked about, if you wanna maximize your price per square foot, Frisco as a whole is not going to be it for you. So if lot size is your priority and you don't want to pay that, million plus, $1.5 million plus in the Grove, you're going to have to look a little bit further north. Now, this last one's pretty obvious. Most people forget it. You're paying $2,500 a year. If you don't use the amenities, it kind of sucks. At the same time, it's $2,500 a year, so you may be able to swallow that. You may not. Now, it's not all bad. I'm not here to just talk about how bad the Grove is. It's not. Those are just actual cons. I see people that don't love it and that just I notice when I would go to tour it. But of course, the pros are going to be location, right? You're within 45 minutes of absolutely everywhere you would need, right? You have downtown Dallas, and you're really about 30 minutes from everywhere. You have Legacy West 15 minutes away. Star in Frisco's not far. Stonebriar Mall, you're shopping, dining, entertaining. Of course, you have newer homes. If you want new construction, the Grove's gonna have a big advantage over a lot of other Frisco neighborhoods. A lot of them are a little bit older. And of course, you have housing variety, different sizes, different builders for different looks. And then of course, with that also comes all the different lot options. So if you want a small yard with no maintenance, basically, 40-foot lot's going to be perfect. If you want to have a bunch of backyard space, whether that's for kids, dogs, or you just want an awesome pool, backyard patio, for those 74 and 95-foot lots, they're going to be great. So it's got good variety for you, which a ton of families love. Now, you also have great amenities we talked about earlier in the video: pool, pickleball court, fitness center, walking trails, all of that, green space. Of course, you're in Frisco ISD, which always check. Again, the Grove is in Frisco. Some that border like Prosper or McKinney are going to have a Frisco address, but be a different ISD. So if you end up buying somewhere, always double check that. Of course, another big pro is you don't have a mutter pit, so you've got a lot lower tax rate than a lot of other North Texas communities, and you're buying into an established growth corridor, right? This was a farm field that was already surrounded by growth and infrastructure, and they just put more homes here. So you already have a lot around you. So who do I see the Grove is a really good fit for? Of course, if you want new construction, it's great. If you love the Prosper and Celina homes, but hated your commute drive, you may have to settle for a little bit less house for a more premium location, or be okay bumping your budget up to get the same house. Now, if you also want some great amenities, of course, it's a big pro there. You want a great school district for your kids. And like I said, if you came from Prosper, Celina, loved the homes, hated the commute, and you really value location over square footage, the Grove is going to be great for you. Now, those same reasons it's great are going to be the same reasons you should avoid it if you don't like that. If you want maximum home for your budget, of course, I mean, if you want to avoid an HOA, that's going to be tough unless you move to some acreage properties. There's a few other neighborhoods, but you're going to have to move further north to get out of a lot of HOAs. Or if you were like, hey, Frisco's probably far enough north from Dallas, I'm not going to have to deal with a lot of traffic. It's not bad. It's not great though. So is the Grove in Frisco, Texas worth it? I mean, For the right buyer, absolutely. It may be great for you. It may be absolutely terrible. But if you have any questions about this community, you're thinking of making a move here to North Texas, whether that's the Grove or another community, reach out to me. Like I said, whether you're 9 months or 9 days out from moving here, I'd love to help. The earlier you reach out can be the better. We can plan a little bit more and make sure you move with confidence. Either way, we're gonna make sure you find the right community and the right home in that community. So all my contact info is below. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Like I said, I have a ton of other North Texas real estate content that's super valuable if you're moving here. But thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in Texas soon.